So hey guys, we're here with John Marler once again, and we decided that we're going to hold off on part 2, at least for a couple days right now, and we wanted to talk about some of the phone calls and emails John's had been dealing with lately. Thought he's got some great questions. Hey John, how you doing?
Doing well, Steve. Looking forward to going over this. I have been impressed with the response from your listening audience. I had no idea that you had, rarely on Blog Talks do you get more than 2 or 3 inquiries, and because I guess it's YouTube and people are looking for this now, it's been kind of interesting. I've enjoyed the emails and I've enjoyed the conversations that we've had and so forth. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I like to try to focus my audience and only talk to those people that are actually caring about stuff. And
yeah.
Eventually the rest might hear this, but, let's just go through it. So what do you got? Tell me something interesting that you've got in your email.
Well, I guess the biggest conception issue is who and what is ICLEI, the International Council on Local Energy or Environmental Initiatives. This question's come up on 3 of the emails and 1 of the phone calls because they kind of put a couple of our phrases together thinking that ICLEI is a source of block grants, and I need to clarify that ICLEI does not do any block grants of funding anywhere. They take money from a city. They are the implementation tool to get cities sucked into the Agenda 21 process. The methodology that they use is that they will go to a city and find some underling that has check writing ability and sell them on the idea that what they're really giving them is a collaborative effort with their peer cities and governments to understand how they can create the green spaces and so forth that are needed in the city. And they use the terms walkable communities and so forth that are kind of like the buzzwords of Agenda 21. They then get the cities enrolled into the process, and last year was the first year that they have actually lost membership. They were rolling along at 100 cities a year, and now they have lost over 100 cities, and they're now back to 500, and we're working hard to get them to be even less. But ICLEI seems to be a question of what are they and it isn't a situation, even if you don't find your city listed at iclei.org, that doesn't mean that Agenda 21 is not permeating your structure. That was the second question. How can I find out if my city is involved with Agenda 21? Well, it was relatively easy in Tyler because they have a comprehensive plan that they call Tyler 21.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great.
And that was a simple process to show them. And here's the saddest part that I found out about Tyler. If you take Houston with all their massive regionalism and massive Agenda 21 and horrendous implementation methodologies of the Delphi plan and so forth and so on, Tyler is actually more involved than Dallas.
Yeah, they're deep.
I mean, they are so deep in it that you'd probably have to wear waders if you walked into City Hall because of it. It is a sad situation, but here's how your listeners can go about identifying it. Call your city manager's office and ask for the website for one or both of your master plan or your comprehensive plan. You could also ask if they're part of any Vision of Texas Council of Governments. These are the 3 key issues. Now, almost every city, in fact, I haven't found a city that didn't have one of the 3 of those items going. Most of them, the vast majority of them, have comprehensive plans, and this has all come about since about 1992. you'll find that the recommendations of Agenda 21 is to help cities develop their comprehensive plan, and you could continue the line in its intent that they are to have the continuity of community services for global citizenship. You can actually put that in there if you wanted to, because the intent is to create this environment that fits in nicely like a puzzle for the Agenda 21 process. Keep in mind, Agenda 21 is a global process, a global action, but it is enacted through your city council primarily, and then secondarily through county commissioners, and then thirdly through the state legislature. If everybody here in Texas remembers the 10 amendments that all but one passed, 9 of those amendments were strictly Agenda 21 items. And yet, none of the authors of any of those amendments knew that there was a connection to Agenda 21. They were sold the bill of goods by an entity that is basically writes the legislation and hands it to a legislator, and then he puts his name on it, and it goes through. So these are the things that are happening through Agenda 21. The final major question that comes up is where do block grants come from, and where do they go? Well, the answer to that is the vast majority are block grants from federal agencies. The Council of Government that is involved, let's take the Central Texas Council of Governments. They are an entity that each city and each county that has signed in to be a member of that council each appoint one member. The city council appoints one, the county commissioners appoint one, and then that group elects their own directors or chiefs or presidents or whatever. And these councils then are awarded grants to do certain things. I can talk in expertise on what happens here in Central Texas is the CAMPO, the Capital Area Metropolitan Project. It is the one that's in charge of the rail, the roads, anything to do with the transportation for 4 counties. Now, number one, none of these people were elected to that office. They were not granted, the citizens of the communities were not granted oversight or involvement in this. And yet, if you want to build a road or you want to continue, and obviously they want to build more and more rail that has never been profitable or even break even, but they can vote and have these things levied upon each of the communities in the area where the citizens will not have a voice to say about it. Well, those are where the block grants come from, and they go to these non-government entities that are created. You have the Alamo Area Council of City Governments. This is one of the perfect examples of benign dictatorships, you might say, because each and every one of them, a COG has identified areas like air resources, water resources, and so forth, that they are going to have a contributive input into. Now, any entity, any agency that has no citizen oversight or involvement with becomes power hungry. And what we have watched with the over 40,000 COGs that exist in the state of Texas is they continue to usurp power and sovereignty from the cities and the counties of the COG and become dictators. Because they are providing these cities and counties with, this really boils my blood, free money. They in turn start dictating to those communities that they are supposed to be the helper of. They have now become the sovereign over, and they start dictating exactly how you're going to build a road.
So what you're telling me is that if we're trying to identify Agenda 21, if it's within or ICLEI participation within the local government, we should look at their city's website or contact our city council people and find out a comprehensive plan and start looking at the verbiage or the words within that.
Exactly. And the verbiage is very definitely, there's certain buzzwords like walkable communities, those green zones, and so forth that could give you clues.
Verbs, now, those words are not the smoking gun. I guess the smoking gun is the associations with the organizations that the city is participating with. Is that correct?
Well, they can be for me, when I'm giving a presentation, I tell them you've seen the warning signs at a railroad crossing where the arms swinging, warning, warning, warning. Well, when you see certain words in a community's plan for action or whatever they want to call it, the best thing I've done, like when I go in and speak in any city, my first effort is to call the city manager's office, stating that I am planning to move there, and I make the statement, I am going to be in XYZ, and could you tell me where your master plan can be found? Now, it's interesting, before I do this, I try to go in and find it myself in the website. In Tyler, I couldn't find it anywhere. And I asked the city manager, I actually got to speak to the city manager, and he says, oh, well, we keep that out. That's kind of in a private area. I can give you the URL, and he let me write it down, and sure enough, there's the master plan. And it's called Tyler 21. I asked him if it was part of Agenda 21. He said, what do you know about Agenda 21? And I said, well, I think it's the thing about global citizenship. And I acted as though I was a positive force on that. And he says, would you be willing to be on a committee? And I said, well, I'm not sure I'm going to move to Tyler. I just wanted to know more about what you do. And he started boasting about his sustainability symposium that he ran last year. And he said nearly 2,000 people came, and we showed them the value of the green zones and so forth. And I thought, oh, my goodness. So as I dug into the city site and so forth, well, the same thing occurs on Fredericksburg site. Fredericksburg has a master plan. It is rife with all the things that I'm talking about. And this is how you find out if your city, and I have yet to find a city that doesn't have. There might be some cities that, maybe are 500 people or something like that, and they're just not involved. But any city that has a planning department and a permit requirement definitely has already created a comprehensive plan that incorporates a lot of the protocols that are suggested by Agenda 21.
Cool. So check it out. So that was one question. How do I see if Agenda 21 is in my town or county? Let's go on to another one.
Okay. The next one was how is this affecting the church in America?
Huh,
and that was a kind of that's the first time I've been asked that, and so I need to define terms. When I'm talking about the church in America, I'm talking about the body of Bible believers, and I said as an adjunct to Agenda 21. Now, as I said in the last conversation, Agenda 21 is not just a process. It is the end result of a mindset that produced Agenda 21, and the mindset is to do exactly what Stalin said. He made the comment that the patriotism, the morality, and the spirituality of America, if I can undermine those three, I can rule the United States. So what you're seeing is a concerted effort through various things of the United Nations effort, which is Agenda 21, and other adjuncts that they have created what is called, or they've renewed, as they call it, they have renewed the Parliament of World Religions. And now, if you do a a Google on that, you'll find out that in 1883, isn't that interesting that was the year Marx died and George Bernard Shaw created the Fabian Socialist? Swami Vivekananda created the Parliament of World Religions, actually held it in Chicago, had about 8,000 people there, and it died. It died, and there was not an 1884 or anything, and in 1993, keep in mind that's 1 year after Agenda 21, all of a sudden the United Nations says they're going to have the second symposium of the the Parliament of World Religions. 10,000 people attended that, and it signed on the World Council of Churches, the National Council of Churches, and a number of other organizations, including Hindus, Buddhists, Confucianists, weird ones. There's a group that literally believes Jesus was a mushroom. They're part of this sign-on. They expect to have a large number of attendees from all religions around the world in order to come to unity. As that's their mantra in that. And in the process of doing that, there is a concerted effort to diffuse the spirituality of the United States. And the spirituality that I'm talking about is what our founding fathers declared unequivocally, that this republic cannot be run without the guidance and grace of Jesus many times. So they're trying to diffuse this whole thing, and they've come up with what they call the global ethic. And in the global ethic, they have gone through, and if you look at the terminology, they identify all of humanity in two classes: authentic and unauthentic humans. And if you look at the Nuremberg laws, you can rephrase those laws to say that because the Jews were considered subhuman by law. The Nuremberg laws did that. Well, they've now classified those who do not agree with their global ethic as non-authentic humans. What does that permit? Well, how can it be a crime to eliminate non-humans? These are the things that are happening. And then in 2004, when they had Parliament, they made with this global ethic, they made a comment that all the world's sacred writings all declare that they are to support the earth, and it is a Mother Gaia based religion that the Parliament is promoting, and it is designed to erode the influence of biblical Christianity, in my opinion. I mean, everything I've read from it has been going that way. Now, they are going to have a gigantic, they are expecting anywhere from 20 to 30,000 delegates from various religions there in Barcelona in 2014. And planning a massive thing where they hope to get all these religions to sign on to this global ethic, and they are going to present to the delegates methods to take it back to your local group of whatever you believe and make it in unity across the globe. Now, when the United Nations talks unity, they're not talking unity in spirit, they're talking uniformity in purpose. So this is the big thing that I have a strong belief here, Steve, is that we cannot change the heart of America until the hearts of Americans have been changed.
I can't say that I haven't seen it before, because there's a spiritual aspect to Agenda 21 as well, and there's
very much so.
Disinformation spin, and I know you've been faced with the brunt of that, quite a few times I've been made aware of, and that's
Right.
terrible. But hey, facts are facts, guys. There's a political side, and then, as John just went over, there's a spiritual side, and they're coming at your beliefs. Actually, they want to tweak them. But John, let's move on, and I'd
Okay.
really actually like to do some more on that particular subject, but we've got a couple more minutes. Let's hit another email.
Well, the only other email I have is, what is the process to get rid of smart meters? And I kind of feel very neutered in this particular thing, because there are two freedoms that we talked about last time: the freedom from a tyrannical or dictatorial government, and the other one is our freedom of choice. And when it comes to these smart meters, we are being specifically told by the authorities of the state of Texas and the authorities of those we buy our power from that you do not have those rights. You are forbidden to have those rights. We've stripped you of those rights. And the smart meters are going to be installed on every single everything that uses power is going to have a smart meter on their gas, their water, and their electricity, and you have no say in it. You cannot opt out. It's not an opt-in, obviously, and there is no appeal to anything. You go to the PUC. Now, there's several of us under the leadership of a woman by the name of Debbie Kidd, Debby Kidd, who are petitioning the PUC, and they have pulled literally every trick in the bag to try to stop that petition from being heard as an official agenda item. They continually lose the petitions. They lose the requirement, the commentaries that we have to send in, and then they say, here's another one, to do a comment to the PUC, they are now requiring each of us 100 people that are part of this petition to submit 16 copies of our petition to them. So all these little steps to do this, the desire is to get the PUC to stop making it a mandate and not and making sure that the power companies are told that it is not a mandate, because there is nothing in the law that they're quoting as the mandate that says it's a mandate. The best you can find in the 2005 law is simply encourage. That's all the only verb in there that does anything about smart meters. But the PUC, under Smitherman, by the way, who's running for railroad commissioner, who is the real authority on source of power, Smitherman made this mandate, and if you look at his funding for the Railroad Commission, you'll find that people from Encore and Centerpoint and so forth are the big funders of his campaign. Here's what's happening. You do not have a right to say no. We have a woman in San Antonio that went out with a gun and told them not to do that, and they cut her power. And they have not restored her power. And then one morning she wakes up and they had jumped over her fence and yanked the meter. This is illegal according to PUC and state laws, and yet no one in the this is Centerpoint has been brought up on charges or nothing. And she's tried to file charges with the county sheriff, and the county sheriff says, I don't have jurisdiction. Well, if she's living there, he's got jurisdiction. But the district attorney apparently doesn't want to fight it. These things are happening that puts us literally into the collective in no uncertain terms that the Agenda 21ers want us to be. And smart meters are just, there is no method today. Now, what we will do, for anybody who sends us an email, I will send you a letter that will void what they call implied consent. And what happens is when you have a meter on your house installed, the law says you have given implied consent So what I've done, and a whole lot of people around here in Georgetown have done, is we've notified the utility that they do not have implied consent to replace our meter. But we've also been receiving the response to those letters saying, "Tough, you're going to get one when it's your scheduled time, and you don't have, and we're the government, and we'll fine you for every day that you impede our progress."
Send me one of those. Send me one of those files. I'll put it up on the site next to this request.
Oh, one of the letters?
Yeah.
I'd be glad to. Okay, I'll send you both my letter and their response to my letter.
Okay, and then a blank one so I can send one.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll put a blank one on there that I send out to people that do that. This to me is a absolute horror story. When I was in a radio debate with the senior vice president of Encore, the man lied so many times, and I was able to stop him in his tracks and point out that he was lying, and there'd be a dead silence after I pointed out his lies, and he would say, "Well, yeah, that's really what's happening, but what I was trying to get," I said, "We understood what you were trying to get across." But his attitude was so dictatorial that I made the comment to him, and I kind of lost it. I said, "Do you remember hearing or reading about the Nuremberg trials, the trials of all the war criminals of Germany?" And he says, "Well, yeah." And I said, "I'm praying for the day that America wakes up and charges you and everyone in your organization and everyone in Centerpoint and everyone in the Georgetown utility and with the Nuremberg murders that you're committing on people today." And he says, "That's ridiculous." And I says, I can send you to the internet where you can see where people have died because of these smart meters. Says it never has happened, and I says it's documented, and you have lied to us, numerous times during the conversation. I said no one has any reason to believe you, but I'm telling you, go to the internet, and you will find where people have had electrosensitivity problems. Their radio-controlled drip system for their medication has gone haywire. Their pacemakers have gone haywire, and there is no recall to anybody, no recourse whatsoever to these people who are suffering, except to move to some new area that doesn't have them yet, but knowing that it's going to come. And this whole attitude that's going through the state of Texas, where no one is coming to the defense. We've got several legislators that have recently been elected that they swear that they're going to go in and fight this. But the whole idea that a government entity can come to my house and dictate that they're going to put on an unproven technology on my house and cause who knows what kind of problems. We have videos of homes that have the fire has started in that smart meter. And do they pay for it? No. It was your bad wiring that caused the smart meter to ignite. There is no liability on their part. There have been people that have reported that their appliances are old and they do not work with a smart meter because the smart meter gives more cleaner power to the house circuits. What a bunch of baloney. I mean, this is
kind of ridiculous, the whole smart meter thing. Here in Fredericksburg, we actually have smart meters on our water and on our power. And they are a meshed network. I was looking into the technical description of these, and they communicate from one device to another at 900 megahertz. Mm-hmm. And they're communicated to from the master server at 2.5 gigahertz. So there's this kind of like a thing, a blanket radiation that's going around between you and all your neighbors. They claim it's safe and it's secure, but we know that all computer networks can be hacked, and they just created one.
Right.
Previously, people didn't have access to your power meter, and this kind of access that they have. Our mayor came out last year and said that they were working on their smart meters, and they found a 3/4 of a gallon leak somewhere in his house, and so they tracked it down. They went through all of his plumbing. They couldn't find anything. They had to get a tractor out, a backhoe out there, and dig up his lawn, and sure enough, a tree had punctured it, and so it was draining 3/4 of a gallon per day to the tree. Now, the problem that we're having right now is we're in a drought, and in a drought, they're going to take a lot of corrective actions. The smart meters may or may not, depending upon your smart meter, have the ability to let them turn on and off your water remotely. Now, this means that they can sit there and watch your compliance in real time. So when you turn on a gallon or a tap, they can see how much is flowing through and base that and regulate that via time. So they can put artificial constraints that says you can't flush a toilet. This would make it so you can flush toilets at 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock. They really have the ability to eavesdrop on your entire life. They can pull a lot of information, and they know that. But here in Fredericksburg, we've got water, we've got power, and we installed them under the guise that we're going to save money because we don't need meter readers. Well, they installed them. Where did the meter readers go? They're still working. They're doing other things. So we're supposed to realize the cost savings. What did we get? More employees and less security and intrusion
and
into our lives.
No installation of a smart meter has resulted in lower bills. Not one of them. And here's the other horror story that I believe is very true. If you picture your house with all the wiring in it, the electric circuits that you've got in there, how difficult is it for us to make that a listening device? Well, anyone can tell you that if you have that kind of wiring in any structure, it can be the listening device. Now, have you ever heard of the man requirements of the smart grid?
No.
Okay, the smart meters are part of what they call the smart grid, and the smart grid is supposed to cover the entire world. But here's requirement number one. You must have a HAN, H-A-N, a household area network, that 60 of these HANs will then report to the NAN, which is called the neighborhood area network. The neighborhood then reports to the municipal area network, and that is where you hear Encore, Centerpoint, Georgetown Utilities, Pedernales, and so forth all say, well, that's the network.
Right.
When you confront them with the requirements of the smart grid, you have to bring up the fact that there is a mandatory WAN function. And like the lady that does our sustainability here in Georgetown, which galls me for 49,000 people, she makes the statement, well, we haven't implemented that. The wide area network literally means that someone anywhere in the world can find offense with John Marler or Steve or Nancy or anybody and say, oh, hey, it's 110 degrees there. Kill their air conditioner. Don't let them have it.
Well, we've been sending data communications over power line networks for quite some years on a professional level, and I have a lot of devices that'll transmit Ethernet or voice or whatever over your standard plug. One of the technologies for this implementation is very, very simple. A firmware upgrade on the smart meter. We don't really have a specification. What operating system are they running on it? You know, in today's date, what do you have on your at your home that somebody could drive up next to it with a laptop and some understanding, and all of a sudden know when you get home, when you turn on what time you go to the bathroom, and everything? I mean, it's scary stuff. And
well, so there have been subpoenas in Dallas, Houston, Milwaukee, Chicago, and so forth, where the police could not get the judge to sign off on a actual tap on a home, wiretap or anything like that, but he would sign off on a power meter reading. So all it takes for them to do is to tell, let's say, center point. Center point, when the guy turns on his power at home, would you report back to us? Bam! They can go in and arrest the guy because they've been looking for him and so forth and so on. These are things that the statement I've heard from the experts, and here's what bugs the daylights out of me. They trot out what they call the CCST certification of safety. Now, the CCST is the California Council on Science and Technology. But what the CCST really did was take the manuals from the manufacturers and take segments out of that and turn it into, quote, their report of safety. They show on a chart that a power meter is 30 times less problematic than your cell phone. But the true scientific studies, and there's the Johansson report, there's all kinds of reports out there, every single one of them put them a measurement, meaning 100 times or better, more damaging than the overhead power lines that crisscross our country.
Yeah, I don't know very much real supporting evidence of that was taken before we started inducing all this radio interference, AM, FM,
right,
microwave. We didn't have measurement tools before we started playing with some pretty brutal stuff. But you know what, John? Do you think people would give up their cell phones right now?
Well, cell phones are by all there have been severe testing. There is no damage being caused by them because it's such a low emission that you're actually getting more cosmic rays from Alpha Centauri than you are from a cell phone.
There's a lot of people that take that other stance on that, too. You've gone...
Yeah, but I mean the scientific reports that are actual scientific studies that, you know, are an extended period of time over extended numbers of people. When you look at the standards of a scientific report, the scientific report supports that they are very, very weak. Now, that doesn't measure every single phone. So there could be you might say a bastard phone out there that can cause all kinds of havoc. But when you talk about a meter that has never been tested by anybody the caliber of Underwriters Laboratory, never been tested by anybody except by the outlaw group that takes one of the smart meters and actually test it, or a group of the smart meters, that this is how the other real scientific tests were done, and they all show enormous transmission of EF signals to the detriment of documented cases of pacemakers going freaky and causing the death of one man, electrosensitivity causing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people having heart flutters, things that did not exist before the smart meter, and it's beyond coincidence that it happens to people that never had a problem until thousands of these people had smart meters. And they all have exactly the same symptoms.
I could speak to you about these subjects all day long. We just did 40 minutes on 3 emails.
Did we really? Good
yes,
grief.
We did. That's pretty good. But, you know, there's more, guys. Next time, we'll try to get back to business with John Marler and talk about part 2. And then we'll discuss the bullet points and give you all those facts that you're looking for in Agenda 21. We may head off on other directions, too, along the way. Thanks for joining us, John.
You betcha, Steve. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay.